Thank you for joining us on the Movement Es Medicina podcast. I'm SuperMarkRock, aka Dr. Mark A. Lopez. Movement Es Medicina is just that, a movimiento, a movement. I'm aiming to motivate gente, the people, the community to build healthy habits and rituals by speaking to me gente, specifically my A1s, my hermanas y hermanos, dope, educated individuals, and exploring their active lifestyles and mental well-being strategies to recognize our dopeness in the process. And speaking of dope, educated individuals, I am joined by mi hermano, my brother from another, Dr. Wendell Hall, a.k.a. Mr. a.k.a. Pelo Doc H-Town, a.k.a. Ed Policy Consultant, a.k.a. Clark Lennox's daddy, a dope, educated individual. Welcome, my brother. Welcome, my brother. Appreciate you making time for us.
SuperMarkRock. It's my pleasure, brothers. Happy to be here with you.
Thank you, my man. Thank you, brother.
As
Thank you,
always.
man. You and I, as well as our sister and brothers, our village, our community, our familias, man, have been doing these type of conversations for years. And for years, man. Fellowship Fridays, Taco Tuesdays, Rosie Salsa, overseas Rosie Salsa, frijoles.
Wine Wednesdays.
Wild Wednesdays, man. All the above, man. You know, with the Southeast crew, man, but also the Pusher Click from the Pelo Doc community, man. You know, we've chopped it up about health as well for a number of years now, man. And here we are, you know, before we even entered our own journeys, and we would go for walks in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
Just get some moving in. You know what I'm saying? We just go around the block a few times just to get some walks in, man. And hell, let's take it even back further. During our doctoral program,
Grad school.
you know, we would hit the weights at Richie Coliseum, right?
Here we go. Early in the morning.
Richie
Si
Coliseum.
se puede. Si se puede.
Well, that's right. We didn't know what the hell we were doing. We're working out. Well, I didn't know what the hell I was doing, just trying to, look a certain way. Man. But here we are. We come a long way, man. We come a long.
It's great, even as we joke around. It's great to see how things have evolved. You mentioned the Taco Tuesdays, the Wine Wednesdays, the Tequila Thursdays. While we fellowshipped, it didn't always center around libations or alcohol, but oftentimes it did. And now it seems the great thing is we've evolved. And while that may still occur, that's a far second or third. And we come around health and wealth first. So, as we've evolved as individuals and as a group, so have our habits. So it's amazing to see.
That's right. That's right, man. And it's truly amazing to see. And we did it, my brother. We did it. We finally hit that record button. Thank you for supporting my ongoing journey.
The push,
Right.
the pushes, the late night pushes for some a libation to do it. Just do it, like Nike said. Right? I'm proud of you, brother. I'm proud of you.
Appreciate it, man. For being my accountability partner, man, for rocking with me. Rocking with Movement Es Medicina from day one.
Absolutely.
Continuing this conceptually, to here we are, as a podcast, man, and continuing to be with me on my healing journey, man. Appreciate you. Here we are, man. So let's get some questions, man. So who is Dr. Hall, man? What's your story, brother?
Who am I?
Dr. Wendell Hall, man.
Who am I? I am proud father, proud husband. I'll say runner now. I had to own that title. Took me a while to own it. Someone who I feel like to whom much is given, much is required. So I take that to heart in terms of the ways in which I try to give back. And someone who's just blessed and fortunate to be here. Many of us came from humble beginnings, and we know not everyone made it to where we are. And I just appreciate every day. I think as I've gotten older, I've gotten a bit wiser due to, many of our conversations. And I'm learning to slow down a little bit, right? Not slow down in life necessarily, but slow down and enjoy the moments. So I enjoy slow mornings. I am someone who loves to read or audiobook. I love to learn, put things together, and I like to challenge myself. Not necessarily always running a full marathon like my boy SuperMarkRock wants me to do, but I enjoy a challenge. I think that's why we're here, to prove to ourselves what we can do. And, the journey, and I can't wait until we get into some of the journey questions, because life is just that, a journey, right? And learning to enjoy every moment of it.
That's right, man. That's right, man. And that lifelong learning, man. I want to give you a few additional flowers as well, brother. I mean, our brother Dr. Hall is well published, man. Amazing speaker in the education policy space. Been doing this body of work of higher education access to get our community, specifically those that have been historically marginalized and represented into education spaces, man. So just, it's an honor to have worked with you alongside you in this space, in this field, man, but also in our journey, brother, wellness, man. And I want to give you those flowers, man, because what you've done around college access is fantastic and amazing for our community, man. So appreciate that space too.
And another reason I give back, because I had a mentor of mine give to me. He was a Hampton man, and I'm a proud Hampton man. I should have mentioned that in my intro as well. I should have led with that. The real HU. Let's get to it.
That's right, man. That's right. And as you mentioned, we are, both of us, I believe, big learners, active learners, big nerds, man, and that, lifelong learning is something that we value and have evolved in this space, specifically the space of an active lifestyle. Both of us are huge wellness advocates, movement enthusiasts, pushers of an active lifestyle. Shout out to the Pusher Click, the OSU group. We both, you and I both aim to move a minimum 5 to 6 days a week. Minimum.
Easy.
Something in cycling, working out.
If I don't, I know you're gonna call me or text me and say what's going on. So I might as well beat you to it. And just like grad school, I might as well beat you to it.
That's right, man. We joined Peloton around the same time, if I'm not weeks apart.
Yeah.
My question for you around this topic, man, is around your wellness and active life. How did that journey begin for you?
It's funny. And we're using wellness journey to start. And I'm going to delineate a little bit and say it started off with a fitness journey, right? And the two are easily aligned, and they're cousins. They're first cousins, but to me, they're not in one and of the same. And the fitness journey actually started in earnest at your house with Rosie, or in my car as we're driving to work. And I thought you folks were crazy about these closing rings. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Oh, I got to close my rings. I'm like, what rings do you refer to? I didn't have an Apple Watch. So I'm still active. I play basketball here and there, may go for a run or a jog or a walk, but nothing that I would consider a journey. Nothing that was intentional, right? Which was still better than nothing. But the Apple Watch was first in terms of understanding, levels of activity. And I think more than anything, the consistency of activity, doing something consistently is where you're going to, ultimately want to be. So that was number one. And number two, our friend Craig, C-Rob Goes Hard, or golfing and running, whatever his name is these days, introduced Peloton. And I thought to myself, it was crazy enough to pay over $2,000 for a stationary bike that takes you nowhere. And I left DC and moved to Houston, and I got injured playing basketball. Not a serious injury, but enough that I needed some more low impact work. 2018, I bought a Peloton. And as you can see behind me, both the Peloton bike, we can add in the treadmill now, the sayings on the back of the wall. This is now a part of a lifestyle. And that was still the fitness lifestyle. And I know we'll get into it a little bit later, because I think the wellness journey is way more comprehensive than just the fitness. So start off with the fitness. Give me the fitness to running and some of the things I know we'll get into. But huge thanks to you and Rosie with these rings, to Craig introducing me to Peloton, which is the closest I've had to a real trainer. Right. Prior to that, I just had you at the gym at 6 o'clock in the morning in grad school, and you didn't know what you were doing. I didn't know what I was doing, but we were doing better than most. So,
I mean, that's right, man. That's right. And that journey was born, man. Those baby steps, man. I mean, call it role modeling, call it, just an inquisitive conversation. Because, yes, we were tuning to work together, into DC, but at the same time, trying to do something, being better than yesterday, right? I believe we got a sticker from somewhere. One of our runs got a sticker that said better than yesterday. Mm-hmm. And that resonates with me, man, because we were just trying to become better, and becoming avid learners of the space, right? I mean, again, trying to figure out what worked for us. Rosie and I, yes, to your point, we were trying to close rings, whether it was a, stand goal, move goal, whatever the case, but whatever, we're just a little internal challenge for ourselves as a couple. but at the same time, just trying to move,
Yeah.
right? And trying to, and trying to role model that for our community. Like, yes, and then, like you said, see Rob came through. He's like, yo,
Mhm.
now. All right, let me give you access. Start there. To the app. All right. And then you, man, we're over here at the gym on the station. Everybody's like, nah, on the real bike.
I remember that. I remember that. I was like, nah, this ain't it.
I think we're at a meeting. We're at a conference. We went to the
I
hotel
think
gym.
we were.
Right?
We were.
And like, come on, man. I got the app. Let's just take a clap on the app. You're like, what the?
Yeah.
You like, oh, man. We did the same thing.
Yeah.
The same thing.
Yeah. So, it's little moments like that. And part of that is, and it's gone unstated so far, it's who you surround yourself with, right? We could have easily, first off, as we get older, we naturally become more sedentary because that's what others around you are doing, right? And you can insert either one of us into any other group of family members or friends who are not as active or who might criticize your new active lifestyle, and you can lose interest, you can lose motivation. So I give big props to Pusher Click, to everyone we've encountered, that for the most part, when I've talked about fitness, and again, I know it's the fitness journey and the wellness journey, when I've talked about fitness, even if they weren't in that space, they listened. They may have gone out for a run for a week or two, or maybe longer, or maybe now they're on their journey. But the community that we fostered through school and through relationships is what kept us going. And then, most people have not lived through a global pandemic. We have. And many of us had one thing in common. Well, we were stressing about the pandemic, which also leads to health and wealth and fitness and mental health. But many of us had Peloton, and we kept each other going and motivated during our time. And it was because of the community that we created. And I just can't say enough about that time, especially being early in the fitness journey. Having a community of folks who are also just as dedicated and committed to getting up at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning to take a 1-hour Alley Love or Matt Wilper's ride. And we did it together. And we were competitive against one another. Right?
Oh my goodness.
We were trying to win. Big Dripper said, I'm willing to
Big
down a
Dripper.
Peloton today. He was going to die to beat me that day.
Shout out
Right.
to Big Dipper, man. Yeah.
Shout out to Big Dripper. But, the importance of community, because many of us live in families where the family may not be as active, and you may not get embraced or celebrated for trying to change your lifestyle. And just having that perseverance to keep pushing no matter what, knowing that you have a greater purpose. Even now, I have to remind myself when I've done a run, a half marathon or a marathon, I'm not a big social media person, so I don't oftentimes post it. And I posted recently one of the latest runs, and someone said, thank you for that. I just signed up for my first half because I saw that you always do, and I'm excited for you, so I did it. So I have to remind myself that the journey is not just about me. So even sharing my story now, which I don't normally do, or on social media, it's not about me, but it's about the person that you might influence who you may not even understand or see the impact directly.
That absolutely, bro. I want to go on that point because one of the pieces, your baby, my sobrina and my sobrino, man, have medals in their rooms now, man. Hanging up proudly.
Yeah.
That you of their run that you've done with them, but they witnessed you in your first marathon, and Houston, man, made signs for us, together. Go Theo Meyer, go Daddy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? What did that mean for you, man?
Man, it meant everything. It meant everything because one, anyone who has kids and I have a 10-year-old son and a 7-year-old daughter, and 10-year-old son does not want to listen to anything I say, but also know that he listens and emulates everything I do and listens to everything I say. And it's become the one sport that we have in common that he wants to do with me. He plays baseball, but he doesn't want to play it with me. He plays soccer, not interested in playing with me. But he's like, Daddy, when are we going for another run? I'm ready for a 10K now. His last 5K he did without stopping. We've done the Disney 5K. He's headed to middle school. He may start to become a runner. So what does it mean to me? It means legacy, but in not the traditional way. You oftentimes think about legacy and the impact that you yourself may have on someone and that you try to imprint upon them. I think about legacy that Craig with Peloton, C-Rob goes hard, golfing and running, whichever it is today. His legacy is going to run deep because he introduced me to Peloton, which got me from biking into running. to doing the 5K and the 10K, and now my son's interested. So who knows with his kids and who he's going to inspire in 20 or 30 years to get them running, right? So when you have positive impacts and positive influences on your life, it's almost like they accumulate, right? And it's unfortunate, and I don't want to take this in a different direction, but we oftentimes know when you have negative influences in your life, how they can oftentimes accumulate. And that's how you can have similar kids from similar upbringings and circumstances end up in two completely different places. And that's the point of, if you're doing positive things, if you're doing well, reaching out, mentoring, giving back, because you never know the impact you're going to have on someone and how it's going to change their life's trajectory, right? And we're only talking about the fitness space now. Imagine once we start talking about the impact of wellness and mental health and those types of things, and the interconnection between the two.
No, that's a great segue, man. That's what I was going to go. And you spoke about, the fitness journey. When would you say you start to prioritize that wellness journey for yourself?
You know,
when did that happen? When did that happen?
Well, as the saying goes, when life starts to life, right? When life starts to life, when things are going well, you get to focus on the things you want to focus on, and you get to do them the way in which you want to do them. When life starts to life, you have to look for outlets, right? And during the pandemic and post-pandemic, just like I think a lot of people, life was lifing in a different way. Luckily, I had a good foundation around the fitness journey. So I dug in there, which was in a sense good because it gave me an outlet. You often, when you're running a run or running a race, you hear people, or you see the signs say, running is cheaper than therapy. It's cheaper than therapy. It is, but at the same time, you should be in therapy too. Like, don't run from the problems. And I think that's what was happening. That's exactly what was happening with me during that time where life was lifing. I was using fitness as an outlet, which was great, but it was only burying the problems deeper, or in a sense, I was running, literally and figuratively, running away from the problems versus addressing the problems, getting therapy to help heal from the past traumas and things that I've dealt with. So again, I know we use the terms interchangeably, but in the last 5 or so years, using running at one point as therapy, while it was beneficial, it was also aiding me to run away from life. It was giving me space and time I absolutely needed, but it was not allowing me to become the best version of myself because I was using it as an outlet. And since being in therapy, which I continue to this day, my therapist is amazing. I would give you her name, but I don't want her to be busy when I call her. Since being in therapy, I actually had to learn how to rerun and re-engage with the sport, right? Because you can go 20 miles when 15 of them you're going to be thinking about something and upset at life, or crying if you need to, and those types of things, which can be healing. But once you start to truly heal in therapy and you're running, you're like, oh, I have a clear mind. It's harder to go 15 miles because you're not having anything you're not running away from anything, right? So I had to relearn, and I'm sure you heard this story, because I had to relearn how to run for the love of running, and that's where I am. And I'm glad that I'm in this space, staying in this space, and it's because I'm doing the therapy and the running, not running as a substitute for therapy.
And I could not agree more about the active lifestyle and the wellness lifestyle. They intersect. They're not one and the same. They complement one another, but it's one part of that healing and overall wellness of as a holistic individual, mind, body, spirit, physical as well, man. And I could not agree more. We speak about that later, about how when we are in whatever, if it's cycling, going out for a walk or a run for that matter, that we say often we need to get something in today because we're coping with whatever of the day happens. But at the same time, we'll speak about how we don't want that to be an outlet for what we're coping with. And so that therapy is absolutely instrumental to that point, man. But oftentimes, we hear and we'll read that exercise is a great stress reliever. Exercise, going for a walk, it helps you heal. You know what I'm saying? Movement Es Medicina, absolutely. But it's just one part.
Mhm.
It's one part of that medicine. It's just one part of that healing that an individual needs, right? Whether it is therapy, whether it is prayer, whether it is
Yeah.
group, you know, whatever that space is. But it's a holistic approach. I think that's what we spoke about: the nutrition,
Mhm.
spirituality, the financial, you know, health and well-being, the fitness, right? The mental health piece. So for advocating for therapy, I could not agree more, man. We need to normalize that more so, you know, in our community, specifically Black and Brown community,
Absolutely.
that therapy is okay to do. So thank you for speaking that
Not
out,
just
man.
okay,
Appreciate
it is encouraged.
it.
It is encouraged.
Right, that's right. That's right.
You know, it is something where we all go through grief and trauma in life. We do. And oftentimes you don't know what you don't know. So if you have folks within your community who haven't been to therapy, it's not because they've been avoiding therapy. They didn't know therapy was an option. You know, the last thing you heard from therapists that it was a shrink for crazy people. And I'm glad that
Right.
in the space now, mental health has
Right.
been, yeah, that has been prioritized. Like, no, you can go, and I've learned more tools, right? So you think about relationships that you have with your significant other, your spouse, your parents. I've learned more tools in the last year and a half in how I can interact and engage with other people
Mm.
that protect me, that allow me to set
Mhm.
boundaries, appropriate boundaries, whether it's at work, whether it's at home. And those are tools that came from therapy. So therapy is not because you're broken, right?
Mm.
At all. And I think once we help, like you said, remove that stigma, I think we'll all be better for it.
Mhm. Mhm. Absolutely, brother. And Emmanuel, you know, I have been on my own personal healing journey for a while, and I'll speak at length of how I believe all of us are in some form of healing, some
Mhm.
journey of healing because of generational trauma, especially as Black and Brown folks in America, childhood trauma, relationship trauma, professional, workplace, etc. Man, and you have been there. You know, some of my darkest times. From that metamorphosis, Movement Es Medicina was born.
Yeah, absolutely.
Time, man, and you witnessed that my wellness journey, my healing, my highs, my lows, one that focused on the mental health and well-being. But I know you mentioned therapy.
Hmm.
I'm not sure the frequency of and feel free or not to share how often you go, but what how do you in your day-to-day prioritize mental wellness?
Absolutely.
The therapy space.
One, taking time for myself. And I'm blessed and fortunate. Not everyone has the flexibility I have. Not everyone has the schedule that I have. Um, I take time for myself. This is something that my therapist, the first time I went, and she says, Wendell, you're constantly doing for others. What are you doing for yourself today? She told me, like, every day do something for yourself. And I said, oh, after this, I go mentor my two kids at the local elementary school. She's like, that's cool. That's not for you. But in a way in which that was a way that I got fed a little bit by doing things, especially for others who in that moment in life need me. But she's like, no, no, what are you doing for you? So even if it's a run, no longer running away from anything, but in that busy schedule where I'm doing for everyone else, if you say you're going to do the run and it's for you and you need it and you want it, do the run. If you're going to have a slow morning and just have coffee and sit out, you need to prioritize and make time to do that, because otherwise you will carry the burden, you'll feel the stress, and that interacts and impacts your relationships with your spouse, with your kids, with your employer, because there's a need that you have yet to satisfy because you have yet to prioritize yourself, right? So whether it's the mental or the space or the wellness or the physical, right? Depending on your need for that day, she's told me make sure you do something for yourself every day.
Mhm.
I'm not
Mhm.
always great at it, but it is a tool that I remind myself that, you know what? No, I am going to go and do this. And if something falls, it's okay. There's enough degrees of freedom. It's okay for that to fall for me to prioritize myself for that day.
What are some examples? I mean, yes, you have the fitness sides, but what are some examples for
Absolutely.
viewers?
Sometimes just getting out and going out and having um, dinner or drinks with my brother or one of my boys, right? Because so much becomes around home, which is exactly what I asked for in life. Got exactly what I asked for. But if you don't prioritize relationships outside of home, right, then I'm not fulfilled. So something I might do for me today is to go and have this type of relationship with a friend, or
Mhm.
in 2 or 3 weeks, I'll be flying to Miami to go on a run guys weekend with my boy SuperMarkRock, Movement Es Medicina. And we join run clubs. And that's a way for me to prioritize me. While previously in the last couple of years, I may have said, well, we have these things going on at home. I'll just stay back. Not that I was hamstrung where I couldn't go. It would be self-imposed. I'll just stay. I'll just do this and not go. And no longer, right? No longer. And the beauty about that, another beauty about things like therapy, that you learn to be um, open and honest, communicated, hopefully a better communicator, that, oh, I'm prioritizing me. And that's okay. And not to be apologetic that you are at the moment prioritizing your needs.
So why don't we do that, brother? Why is it so hard for brothers, for men, specifically those that are family or in committed relationships, are married, to prioritize? So I could not agree more. That space is a necessity for us to be completely refueled, rejuvenate, right? But why is it so difficult, in your opinion? Why we don't do it enough?
Yeah, well, we don't go to therapy. We haven't been told that that's okay. We haven't been told, when people always use the analogy about the cup runneth over. It's like, no, everyone else gets what runs out of my cup. You can't take what's in my cup. I can't give you what's in my cup because I need to be whole. And once you realize that, a better me makes a better everyone else, that's when you can start to say, no, 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 I'm going to go do this for me. Because then when I come back, I'm fulfilled with what I need. If I need to get out and go run, if I need to get out and go and have a guy's weekend, now I am fulfilled and I'm fully home without the attitude, without the stress. And I want to be present here. If you feel like, you don't do it, that's not what men do. We stay. It's unfortunately doing yourself a disservice. But if you don't talk about it to others, if you don't have tools, if you don't have an effective way to communicate with your spouse about why you need to do it, then it'll never happen. And then you become bitter, right? You become bitter. One of the things I learned from a former supervisor is unspoken expectations lead to resentment. So you have expectations of your spouse that you should be able to do X, Y, Z, but you haven't spoken them. And therefore, now you're resenting said spouse, now we're going into marriage, but you're now resenting your spouse because you didn't get to go on the guys trip. Well, you didn't articulate that you need to go.
Right.
Here's why. Here's what I need. So, those are, as we grow older, I wish I had started there 20 years before, but it's about what tools can you use at a given time, right? To effectively communicate what you need, what your needs are, and sort of how you're going to move.
And you think, you know, you're intentional about that me time. Every single you find something, doing your best to find something. How does that intersect with joy? You look those pieces when you're prioritizing self, with hanging out with your brother or connecting with one of your boys, or going for reading. I know you're an avid reader. Is that the same space for you, man? When you're prioritizing self, is it joy as well, or that's different?
I would say for me a bit different. When I'm prioritizing self, it could just be sitting out and having my coffee after the kids get off to school and having 20 minutes to myself. I'm bothered. Usually also at 4:30 p.m., PTI comes on, which is my favorite sports show. I watch about 15 minutes of PTI most days a week if I can. Like, that's my time. Joy, I would say, they could be synonymous, but I also get joy from doing for others, right? I get joy from, so I mentored two kids, two fifth graders who are headed to sixth grade. And we had a mentor breakfast this last week where they brought all the mentors together. It was maybe 200 people, 150 people in the room. And the coordinator director, she said, we have mentors in the room. I'm going to read a couple of quotes. She told me one of the quotes from one of my mentees. She told me right before she said it in front of the public, but she read in front of everyone. One of the mentors said, I trust him more than my best friend. If I had glass jar, I would give him my heart because I know he wouldn't drop it because something to that effect. So that brings me joy when we talked earlier about the legacy part, right? I understand our time on earth is short, but your legacy can be long. It doesn't have to have your name on it, right? The person who Clark teaches one day to run, whether it's his kid or a friend of his, isn't going to know until Mark and Craig are the ones who turned his dad on, who turned him on. But just knowing that you're doing some good, like that's what it's about. So that's what brings me joy. Anytime I can, as a servant and servant leader, anytime I can do things like that, even without the notoriety, are what bring me joy.
Man. And I mean, you share time and time again, man, of how individuals, like you mentioned earlier about, thank you for that post because they signed up for their first organized run, man. And people in your village, in your Houston village, coming to you for advice around fitness, around running, around Peloton, around stretching, etc., man. You know what I'm saying? And now you're an expert, man.
I don't know about expert. Lopez,
come on, man. Come on.
We talked earlier about my son, but to see the fact that sometimes I'll get the kids off to school or my wife will take them in and I'm about to go for a run and I'm running in the neighborhood and eighth of a mile ahead of me, I see my brother out running who was not a runner, has not been a runner, has done a couple of 5Ks because I've brought him along. We've done some together. You were there. But now on a random Tuesday morning, he says, Movement Es Medicina, let me get out. And within 5 minutes, because I catch up to him pretty quickly.
Stop it, man.
I'm running with my brother at his pace. And I'm having joy. I found joy when it was unexpected, right? I was able to pass on to my brother the joy of getting out and running and what it does for you when you step outside. I love my Peloton, all of it. But I get outside and run as well because there's something about the sun, there's something about people, and his life's starting to slow down. And you're just, wow, I never really noticed those bushes over there, right? I never noticed that person's door was yellow. The things that you start to appreciate, on these run journeys, which we put in some long miles, you're going to have a lot to appreciate. Again, when your mind is clear, I didn't see the bushes or the yellow door before. You know why? I was probably stressing over something. I was in my head. Someone pissed me off, or I allowed myself to be pissed off by something, which is very different than somebody pissing me off. And that's not there anymore, right? It's not perfect, but I'm enjoying the journey as we talked about.
And I would argue it's part of your healing too.
Absolutely.
Since you've been seeing a therapist, providing the tools, having that additional space, man, to speak to a professional, to heal, to identify those elements that you needed to work on, right? And identifying that you are still a work in progress. Like we say, we're evolving. Here we are, you know what I'm saying? At the age that we are, man, in this journey, trying to live longer, trying to do another trip around the sun. We talk about, man. You know what I'm saying? We'll continue to evolve ourselves moving forward. And so, like you said, man, I mean, that's joy to see your brother, man. To rock with him too, man. But visiting with the net, here we talking marathon, local 10K, but Nana and this, you know what I'm saying? I'm just like, what? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I know I'm visiting and all, but we're not talking about wellness all the time. But
you always talk about wellness. You always talk about wellness. It's a beautiful thing, though. Again, you imagine being surrounded by someone who only talks about things that destroy your body, things that destroy your mind, right? So blessed and fortunate to, since 2005, when I entered College Park, I got to meet who I now know as SuperMarkRock, right? 2005 when I came in. 20 years, brother. 20 years, brother.
That's right, man. That's right, Barry. That's right. You know, brother, you hear me often speak and use the hashtag, remember your why. Recuerda tu porqué. You know, why I work out, why I focus on self. Can you share your why? You know, and you've alluded to, but what is your why?
Yeah. We talk about life and more than likely, most of us in our circle are on what I call the back nine. It can be a beautiful back nine, and we don't know how long the back nine are going to last. But I want to appreciate every moment of the back nine. I don't want, and the more and more you read and see, you don't want longevity for the sake of longevity, right? You live to be 100, but you've been in the wheelchair because you've been inactive and your body starts to fail you at 50. Yes, you live to 100, but what about the quality of life? None of us knows the future, but I do know that while here and my kids are here and I can help inspire them, I want to be at their weddings if they choose to get married. I want to run the 5K and 10Ks and maybe a marathon with them once they grow up and get a little bit older. But wanting to be here, right? Not just for them, not just for my spouse, be here for me too, right? I want to show up for me because I know I can, right? The things, the blueprint on wellness is well documented. It is up to us as people to follow said instructions or said blueprint. And the beautiful thing about it is that we all get to choose, right? It's a choice. We watch some people on social media and we share it back and forth with one another. When you wake up in the morning, some days you don't want to do something. But, I think it was in Mel Robbins' new book when she talked about let them. She talked about that 5 seconds in between when you want to do something and when you execute. That 5 seconds is so critical because that's whether or not you're going to get the first leg out of bed and just go do it. Or if you're going to prolong and say tomorrow and tomorrow never comes. Right. So I'm glad to be surrounded. Yeah, I'm glad to be surrounded by people like you who, if I don't put the leg out the bed, I'm going to get a text soon. So that's my why. I can boil it down that I'll do it for them and I can do it for my spouse. I do it for me. I do it for me, right? Because I can. And I think I have a lot more work to do here on this earth to be inspired, to learn. And it's almost like, ¿por qué no? Like, why not? ¿Por qué no? Right.
That's right. That's right, brother. We get to, right? We get to.
Yeah. You don't have to. We get to. There will become a day. Everything we're doing right now, there will become a day where we no longer can. So we get, we don't get to fully write the script, but we get to dictate whether or not we're prepared when that time comes.
That's right, man. That's right. Brother, tell me what comes to mind when you hear and see Movement Es Medicina, bro.
Brother, I see the beginning of a movement. I'm super proud of my brother and sister for starting it. You've tiptoed and put the pinky toe in the water, and then you put the toe in the water, and then you put the heel in the water. Each time, the water was fine, right? And now, I'm happy that you're taking a leap, right? And you've done it for a while now. Let me not make it seem like this is the beginning. This is the beginning of the podcast, right? But the journey has been well documented. We've told you when we visited Mexico City for your marathon, when you were training, we're like, document this. This is inspirational. Document these things, right? I know it's scary. I haven't done something like this, so I know it's scary. But the thing is, just remember, you've already won. Like there is no losing in this situation. You've already won. You get to do this, right? You get to do this. So we're super happy to be back Earth. I think I'm still waiting on my hat. Or, I'll get it one day. It's cool. I think I prepaid for it too. It's all good.
I think so. I
have to check the receipts.
I think you're cutting out there, bro. You're cutting out there. Hold on, man. Something's going up with connection.
That's funny.
I appreciate that, bro. I mean, and you've been there since day one, man. I mean,
yeah.
Again, going back to 05, so when we're going to Ritchie Coliseum, man. I guess as far as that, going to the gym to lift weights. You know what I'm saying? We're doing you and I, surviving a PhD program.
Yeah. We're still working on these midsections though. I remember those workouts 20 years ago. I guess we got to read some more literature on that.
Yeah. Some more literature, man. That's right. That's right, man. But you've been there, man, since day one, man. I mean, when this space was born, man, I mean, you and our village, our community, man, I mean, nationally, which is bonkers to me. I mean, we're all over the country, brother. I mean,
yeah,
from Cali.
You and Craig, like literally, you were running before I was in terms of organized and I had no intent on ever signing up to get a medal. And it meant the world, my first half marathon, you and Craig coming from across the country to pretty much come down and hold my hand to run that half marathon with me. And I truly, and then my first marathon. I appreciate you, brother. You've been there. So you've been brother from a different mother.
That's it, bro. That's
Yeah.
it, man. That's it. So walk through that, man. Let's stay there for a second, man, because that, to me, running a full marathon is a spiritual journey, man. That celebration when you start at the starting line. Everything the prep you talk about is
Yeah.
work, but the celebration is arriving there healthy and being able to do this. What was that first one like, bro? What was that first marathon?
A little chilling. Not
Yeah,
joking.
look,
It was amazing.
too.
I mean, just like they tell you, don't get out too fast. You and I were at the start line cheering. And I looked and I didn't see you anymore. And I said, well, I guess I'll see him in a couple hours. But it was amazing. It was scary, right? I'd done the hash, so I knew I could do the full. I'd already trained for it appropriately. But you can only imagine the real, no, we're all real athletes. There are lots of eyes on you and you're questioning yourself throughout. At that point, for the first marathon, I'd not too long before, lost my sweater, my mother-in-law. So I knew there was no chance I was not going to finish because on the back of my shirt, I put Para mi suegra, right? So I was doing that one for her. And to be there and to see some friends from here in Houston support me, see my mom and sis out there, my brother at mile 22, 23, 24, when I thought to myself, WTF am I doing? I never felt like I was running alone, right? And that's what the great thing about the running journey is that, first off, if you're at a cocktail party and somebody asks you, are you a runner? They're a mistake because you are cornered for an hour. But people who support you, I talked about comunidad, like the community. People in here will suffer through some stories and they will also suffer through weather to come out and support me. Just to clap for me for 5 seconds. They are overjoyed seeing me doing something that they know I trained for. Right. So the importance of community, even in, as we become adults and older adults, is important. In high school and college, you sort of have a built-in community of people who are in your dorm, or as you age and get older and enjoy the next decades of life, community is just as, if not more important then, because you start to lose touch, people move. The fact that we have such a tight-knit community is super important. And now what you're doing, hopefully through the podcast, is inspiring people who are in all different walks of life across the country, across the world, reminding them how important community is for their mental health, their physical health, and such.
That's right, man. That's right. And I cannot emphasize enough the communal aspect, but also the pit crew, man. Pit crews are clutch.
Absolutely. Absolutely. My 12, my 14 is just like F1. We got Los, Judy, wife, the kids, all those things matter. It's one person maybe who's running the marathon, but having the people there, even kids with their signs saying, tap here for energy. I tapped every sign I could because I needed the energy way more than they did. They were excited that I tapped it. I needed it. Right. So just the running community, I'm appreciative of the embrace and how the ease actually of what it is to break into the running community. You and I gone to Miami before. Look, there was a run club that night. They were like, come join. We joined that quickly. So if folks are thinking about running, thinking about walking, thinking about jogging, find a local club. There's a fit for everyone. Not everyone's 10, 15 miles every weekend. That's a built-in community. And hopefully one day, as I age or choose not to run every race, let me say it that way, I will be someone who will volunteer and just give out the cups of water, because those people are important as well. Even though the runners can't say it in the moment because you're trying to breathe, like those little things do matter. So even someone who's not able to run right now, but who wants to find community, I recommend that as well.
Fantastic, brother. Fantastic, man. And for those listeners, the watchers of this podcast, brother, the gente that has not began their wellness journey or kind of stuck in their journey or are full blown booklet in the journey there. What would you like to tell them? What would you like to tell them? What words?
One thing I learned, I don't know who said this recently, but it stuck with me, and I've shared it with some other people as well, which is talk to yourself, don't listen to yourself. Because we know what happens in between our ears can be our biggest motivator or our biggest detractor. So whether you want to run the marathon, my friend Cedra has run 12. And because I was not a part of the running community, I didn't understand how big that was. I'd never actually seen her run, right? But talk to yourself. You are badass. You are that person. You are that beast. And if you talk to yourself, you will start to believe it. If you listen to yourself, you will also start to believe it. Which one do you want it to be? Listen to the doubt. You'll never do a marathon. You'll never do a marathon. You'll never do a marathon. Or you know what? I'm going to do this. I can do this. I'm going to prove that I can do this. Which, I think ultimately we all have to choose what type of person that we're going to be. Are we going to be someone who listens to ourselves, or someone who helps to forge our own path and says, you know what? I'm going to start talking to myself because I know who I am. You're one of one. You're one of one. Even if you're a twin, you're one of one. You are uniquely positioned to do whatever you want to do, but you got to realize it.
Right, brother. Right. The power of mantras, man, to that point. I mean, look at your wall behind you. You know what I'm saying? How cute. Simple, mantra that will push you through, whether it is cycling, whether it is running, whether it is strength training, that power of that mantra, the words.
Affirming yourself. Self-affirmation. Self-affirmation.
Look what we did.
Every day on the chalkboard, si se puede. Now let's go right for 8 hours. Si se puede. And we all finished.
And it began there. You know what I'm saying? Those affirming that.
With you.
That's right, brother. That's right, man. Those marathon riding sessions, right? Who would think those are actual marathons, brother. So what's next for you, brother? You ran 5Ks, you ran 10Ks, marathon. You're a full marathoner. You strength train, you cycle.
Twice. I've done two. One now.
You've done two, brother. You've done two. You strength train, you cycle.
Yeah.
What's next for Pelo Doc? Pelo Doc.
Pelo Doc H-Town. I think now I'm at the phase of, now I'm at the phase of being a lot more intentional with my body, right? It's one thing, and I've learned this from a good friend of mine, Silas, who went to undergrad with me. I think Silas has lost between 125 and 150 pounds. And he's in the gym, he has a trainer, he's being consistent. And I think what's next for me is building in a level of consistency where I never fall off. They say it's much easier to stay in shape than it is to get in shape. And what happens during marathon season is that you train for 4 or 5 months for the marathon, you take some time off, and then you've take so much time off that I haven't gotten back into that rhythm. And while the marathon might be the top of the mountain for people like me, what I learned from Silas is that small, consistent steps are just as, if not more important than monumental steps and then nothing, and monumental steps and nothing. So for me, in terms of diet and exercise, consistency, alcohol intake lowered, and just focusing in on strength training, right? Because as we age, as we get older, strength training, stretching, those things are going to matter. It's great to hit the peak marathon, maybe one per year, but the consistent every day. This morning, I was on this treadmill, I was stretching on this floor, and I did a 45-minute bike ride. I didn't feel like doing anything this morning, but I put the foot out the bed and I said, oh no, it's going to happen. Tomorrow, the same thing's going to happen tomorrow. I'm going to do something, right? So finding consistency, even for people who work out multiple times a week, I want to build a more consistency across the board. And just, you said, well, I think also just enjoying the journey too. Whether my next run, I've been someone who's been so focused on like, just let me finish, not necessarily the time, but I want to dance like SuperMarkRock. So if next person comes and sees me at a run or a race, you are not just getting a high five, you are getting a dance like SuperMarkRock. Like you are only running to come see that person that day. I love the fact that you give everyone you see that level of attention. When I saw you do that to my mom and sister when we ran, you gave them attention like they only came to see you and you only came to see them. And I need to remember that.
Mhm. Wait, they did it? You talking?
Sorry, my headphones going out. I can't.
That's right, man. It's just, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a celebration. That is
Yeah.
a celebration, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? We did the work. We did the work to get there, man, and that's the celebration. You know, we're not professionals. Will we be one day get, you know, endorsed and paid to do this?
Maybe you.
For a marathon, bro? But that's not my goal. That's
Yeah.
not my goal. My goal is to be, you know, with the familia, man, celebrate our success of arriving there. Like you said, embracing those that have come to celebrate us.
Yeah.
Because they're taking times in the weather. You did not weather, man. Parking is horrible. Traffic is horrible. They're trying to find spots.
They made a day of it to come see you. Yeah.
Exactly, man. So absolutely, man. I mean, it really, you know, it makes my eyes sweat every time, man. You know, seeing someone and embracing someone, man, because I know folks, you know, utilize resources, utilize, you know, their time, and to be there for us, man. And you know, that's a big deal. It's a big deal that they came to cheer us on. It's uplifting, it's motivating. You know, it's powerful as those, you know, high five here for energy. Right? It really is. Right. What are you reading right now, brother? What are you reading right now? What is a book recommendation that we need in our life, man? I know you haven't read.
Absolutely. I just finished yesterday a book called Abundance by Ezra Klein and Derek Thompson. It is a book that is non-political, non-partisan in that sense, but that pushes us as U.S. citizens to get out of our current mindset. That there's one political party that focuses so much of its attention on going back to the past. There's another that focuses so much of its attention on the injustices of the now. And no one is realizing, because we have a scarcity mindset of zero sum game, that if we actually harness the potential of like who we are and who the country has been when we actually invest, like there's so much abundance and potential in front of us, but no one's looking there because we're all camped out into where we are right now and fighting like the current day versus saying there's enough for if we just turn this page, we all want the same thing. There's enough for everybody if we just look at it. So, you know, it was a really good book, and it helps ground some of the work the Echo Office is doing around unbound potential and realizing the potential of everyone who, you know, every learner out there, every community out there. How do we actually become what we call unbound? So it's a similar concept, like beyond the current moment.
Okay.
If we actually
what's the name for the abundance? Okay.
Abundance, Edward Klein and Derek Thompson. Just finished it yesterday or Saturday, and it's a really good book because it tells you at the beginning who the book is for, and it's people who want real practical solutions. It's not about left or right or wrong, but about like if we focus in, now's the time we can do some big things.
Okay, brother. Okay. Shout out to Equiball, man. What is Equiball? Can you give our listeners and viewers a quick?
Absolutely. Research and strategy consulting firm, believing in the unbound potential of everyone, right? So research, evaluation, strategy work. I work with a lot of philanthropy. I'm getting folks to think beyond, you know, our current state of affairs in terms of what's equitable and for whom versus if we actually allowed everyone to realize their full potential, what could we be as a society, right? So big questions.
Hey, thank you for that, man. All right, brother. Appreciate that, man. Let's jump into a few lightning round questions. All right, I'm gonna ask you a number of questions. Don't think too much about it. Just give us your first reaction.
You sure you want my first reaction? This is gonna be edited.
All right. All right, brother. Here we go. You ready?
Let's do it. Listo.
All right. Listo, man. Reading or podcast?
Does reading include audiobooks? Audible? Reading.
Reading. All right. Real estate or investing?
Investing in real estate. I do both.
Jay-Z or Anderson .Paak?
Jay-Z.
All right. Go or hip hop? Come on, bro. Quick.
I'm gonna go because
All right.
is gonna play hip hop songs.
Favorite movie?
Oh wow. If my kids listen to us, I'm gonna tell them the one that I've always told them, which it has been and was for such a long time. Lion King.
All right. The
Original.
Rockets are original. The original. Houston Rockets.
Man.
The Washington Wizards.
Oh man, it's like drink champs. I'm a drink. I'm a drink on that
Favorite
one.
U.S. Favorite U.S. city.
Ooh, Miami.
Favorite international city.
Favorite. I'm gonna go the one with. I'm trying to convince my wife that we should explore moving to. I'm gonna say Panama City.
Panama City. All right. Peloton tread or Peloton bike?
Hard block. I'm actually gonna go with the bike. I'm gonna go with the bike. I thought you think I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do bike.
All right. All right. Memorable childhood experience.
Memorable. You said this is R-rated. Um. Wow, Mark. Shouldn't have to think about it, but then you say childhood. Um. Just growing up in DC. I mean, just yeah.
All right. All right. Where's my niece and nephew going to college?
Can you not see the towel in the back that I strategically placed?
No.
The Hampton University towel back there. I can go get it if you need to. They're going wherever they. I am not going to design their lives. I'm going to introduce them. I'm going to introduce them to as much as I can, and then let them make their decision. But hopefully, it's Hampton.
Black Panther 1 or Black Panther 2?
Uno.
Oh. All right. Where are you traveling to next?
I leave in 4 days, 5 days, and we go on a cruise, family cruise. We'll do it every year.
Fantastic, man. Bourbon or mezcal?
Tequila.
Who makes the best frijoles?
Cirosi. En el todo mundo.
In the whole
Cirosi.
world. Fieros. I love it, man. I love it. Mi hermano, that's all the questions I have, brother. Muchísimas gracias. My brother from another man, Pelo Doc H-Town, mi hermano, Dr. Wendell Hall, man. I'm grateful. Truly am, man, for taking the time. Constantly inspired by you, brother. I am, brother. I appreciate you more than you know, man. I appreciate the accountability. Appreciate you rocking with Movement Es Medicina from day one, rocking with me, man. And looking forward to getting one in here in the near future, man, with Miami, getting a run in.
Absolutely. Proud of you, brother. Big time.
Thank you, brothers. Thank you, man. Where can the gente, where can the people find you? IG, LinkedIn, anything you want to share?
IG, what am I? Mr. MISTER _Wendell. What are the other ones? I don't know. I don't do much social. I think LinkedIn, Wendell Hall, PhD. Peloton, Pelo _Doc H-Town.
All right.
I think I'm on Twitter. I don't know. I don't use it. So X, whatever.
Thank you, brother. Muchísimas gracias, Bedford. Movement Es Medicina. Mi gente, remember, recognize your dopeness. We are all dope, educated individuals. Like my episode, ask questions, give us feedback. Follow me on IG at SuperMarkRock. Follow me on YouTube, podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts at Movement Es Medicina. Mi gente, gracias. Paz y luz.